Hello, my name is Ty. I'm a real estate consultant and a realtor. Now, one of the major concerns of prospective real estate investors or land people want to buy land or want to invest in land is the issue of scam. People are afraid of being scammed. They've heard lots of stories about people who got scammed in the course of doing real estate transactions. Now, this is for real. It does happen. People get scammed, but a few things that I think you should know is number one, for every scam you hear about, every scam story you hear about, there are probably 1,000 other transactions that were successful and without any issues. So when you hear about scam, it's the exception. It's not the norm. Okay, so people build houses every day. People buy lands every day. So the scam stories you hear are just they are rare. They don't happen all the time. That's number one. Number two, some scam stories you hear sometimes are not totally, scam. Sometimes there have been issues where people buy land from a developer, and somewhere along the line there's some kind of misunderstanding with respect to certain payments that are to be made, and some people will just start saying, "Oh, I've been scammed, I've been duped," and things like that. In some cases too, issues may come up with the land, and some of these issues are actually resolvable. But many a times, some people will say, "Oh, I've been scammed, I've been duped," and things like that. But it doesn't rule out the fact that people get scammed. But in many cases, what people call scam in many cases are just issues that come up in the course of the transaction, or sometimes after the transaction, issues that are resolvable, and sometimes people just blow things out of proportion. But there are scams. We've had cases of, there was a man I heard that was sold land around Third Mainland Bridge. I don't know how that happened, how somebody will pay hundreds of millions of naira for land. I mean, if you have hundreds of millions of naira, I believe you should have the resources to be able to do a thorough investigation. But this man got swindled of hundreds of millions of naira for land around Third Mainland Bridge. How that happened? Maybe it was I don't know, but that happened. That happened in Lagos a couple of years back. Another case is where you have an individual that sells one land to different people. Now, this also happens, but okay, well, that's the case. I'm going to come back to the solution. And also, we have cases where, in terms of rent now, where you have a landlord who lets out a single apartment to different people, and then they all come and they start dragging, and things like that. Now, one of the ways by which this can be avoided is this. In all of these cases, you always have a broker involved or a realtor. So the realtor you work with, in the course of your real estate transaction is very, very important. You need to look out for realtors with integrity, realtors who know what they are doing, realtors who've got track records that can link you up with the right properties that meet your need, and you don't get involved in all this mess and all these unnecessary problems. Now, the other very, very important thing that you need to do to avoid land scam is to make sure that whatever land you want to buy, is that you do your land verification. Now, there are certain things there's a process to land verification, but what I would personally recommend is that you look for an experienced land lawyer, or maybe a surveyor, or a professional in the real estate sector who does land verification, who is experienced in land verification, to help you do your land verification. It will cost you some money, but it is better to pay a little amount of money on land verification than to spend lots and lots of money on a property and lose the property or start having problems on the property. Now, when you're doing your land verification, you are not only checking to see whether the land is free from government acquisition, you're also checking to actually know the rightful owner of the land. There have been cases where somebody pays for a plot of land or a large expanse of land, and then when you move to the land to start working, you get a lot of people come and meet you, and they say, well, this land belongs to 5 families, but you only pay to 1 family. Imagine that kind of nonsense, but these things do happen. So one of the ways to avoid all of these things is there are people who can actually help you to investigate, to know who is the rightful owner of the property, who has the right to sell the property, the right person you should be paying to, so that even if you don't have a problem with the government, you want to make sure you don't also have problems with the people you are buying from. There have been cases also where lands have been used as collateral in the bank, and then someone buys the land without knowing. If you buy land, the owner of the land transfers the land to you and everything. So when the bank is coming for the land, you're going to have some kind of problems, along the line. So all of these things needs to be checked, by a professional before you can go ahead to pay for the land. Some time ago, I heard about people who bought land in the area where you have the free trade zone currently, and all of this happened between, I think, 2012 and I think 2015. And eventually a lot of people who sold these lands, so some of these people were able to get their money back, but majority didn't get nothing. When I thought about this, I found that this could have been avoided by doing a simple search, by just investigating a little bit on the land. Don't rush at a property because it's cheap or because the location is good. Some people have the ability to sweet talk you. They tell you all sort of sweet things. We've done this, we've done that. We don't want to scam you, blah blah blah. There's no scammer that will tell you that they want to scam you, but you must do your own investigation. Now, the Free Trade Zone project started in 2002. Now, if you now go and buy land in a place that has been earmarked for the Free Trade Zone in 2012, 10 years after the project started, then it means you did not do your due diligence, because if you've gone to the right places to check to see whether the land you're buying is free, you will have seen that this land you're buying has been earmarked for the Free Trade Zone project. All right, so a lot of the scam stories we hear can actually be avoided. They can be avoided. You should not be afraid about being scammed. There's a lot of information out there. You have realtors that can guide you to the right properties. There are certain steps, certain precautions, certain procedures that you go through in your land acquisition process to make sure that you don't fall victim of any form of scam whatsoever. So in the course, if you're trying to buy land, if you're trying to buy a house, if you're trying to even rent, the case of the folks who a landlord collected money from several people on a single property. Now if you work with a professional agent, you cannot find yourself in that kind of situation. Okay, it's as simple as getting the right agent or the right realtor to help you source for a property. That will have been totally avoided. So just do the right thing and you will not get yourself into a situation where you get scammed. I hope you learned something from today's video. Thanks. I'll see you again soon.